Welcome back to the channel if you are returning. If you're new here, my name's Catherine. I tutor the SAT Math, and I just wanted to throw out a couple of pieces of information before we get started. So first of all, if you are looking for a private SAT Math tutor, the link to my private tutoring is in all of my videos. Excuse me. The other thing I want to point out is that if you're here to get every single question right on the SAT, this is not the correct channel for you. My goal with tutoring and going over these practice tests is I want to focus on the ones that you can get correct every single time and not focus on the ones that take a really long time or really require you to remember something specific. And so, with that being said, there are some problems that I'm not going to go over today. And the problems I'm not going to go over are going to be 24, 27, 37, and 38. 27, I'll show you it. It's just a very, very long, lengthy read graph, understanding a graph. 24 has to do with an equation of a circle and finding the radius, and it's just too many steps. It's not something to overwhelm ourselves with. And 37 and 38 are, although not challenging, those are also very long ones. There's one other question that I'm going to quickly go over, but I'm not going to solve it completely because it requires you to know the formula of an area of a hexagon, and that's going to be number 30. Okay, so I like to tell people up front which ones we're not going to go over because I don't want anyone watching the whole video and getting upset that we don't go over those problems. But again, my goal with tutoring and going over this is to help the general student that needs to review, these concepts, that maybe just finishes with enough time. That's my goal, not the superstar student. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there that I've seen where it is, these super smarty pants tutors that will, go through an entire math test in 20 minutes, right? So there's lots of those channels, not a lot of these. So let's go ahead and get started. And like I always have, the link to this test is in the video description. So if you want to go ahead and attempt this test beforehand, you can. And then that way you can just review it with us. You can skip around to the questions that you needed an explanation on. And that way it's not too bad. So there will be no cuts in this video. We're going to go straight through. Okay, number 1. A musician has a new song available for downloading or streaming. The musician earns 9 cents each time the song is downloaded and not even 2 cents, 0.002 cents each time the song is streamed. Which of the following expressions represents the amount in dollars that the musician earns if the song is downloaded D times and streamed S times? Okay, so I know for D times, the download is 0.09. So it's 0.09 times D. And we're going to add that to streamed, which is the 0.002 times S. And so if we go over here and take a look, that matches letter C here. All right, number 2, a quality control manager at a factory selects 7 light bulbs at random for inspection out of every 400 light bulbs produced. At this rate, how many light bulbs will be inspected if the factory produces 20,000 light bulbs? Okay, so we select 7 out of every. So we already know we're going to be setting up a ratio. So we have 7 light bulbs out of 400. And now equal, it says how many will be inspected if the factory produces 20,000 light bulbs. So we're going to figure out X over 20,000. Okay, you can cross multiply here. So 400 times x equals 140,000. Then we would divide both sides by 400. And when we do that, we get the answer is B, 350. All right, number three, oh my gosh. Number 3, we have L equals 24 plus 3.5 m. It says one end of the spring is attached to the ceiling. When an object of mass m kilograms is attached to the other end of the spring stretches to a length of L centimeters as shown in the equation above. What is m when L is 73? All right, well, we know that L is 73, so I can substitute L in the equation for 73. So 73 equals 24 plus 3.5 times n. We would subtract 24 from both sides. So 49 equals 3.5 times m. And then we'll just divide. It's just a simple equation. Divide by 3.5. And the answer here is going to give you 14. All right, so 3 nice, easy expression and equation and ratio problems to kind of get our brain going. So let's go on to the second page. And we have that questions 4 and 5 refer to the following information. So let's go ahead and read number 4 first. How much money will the performer earn when 20 people attend a performance? Okay, let's go up here. The amount of money a performer earns is directly proportional to the number of people attending the performance. The performer earns $120 at a performance where 8 people attend. Okay, so we have if at 8 people, they make $120. If we know that there's 20 people, we're trying to figure out how much they perform. So it's the exact same thing. Again, it's going to be another ratio problem. We can go ahead and cross multiply. So 8 times x equals 2,400 divided by 8. So x would be $300. And for number 5, the performer uses 43% of the money earned to pay the costs involved in putting on each performance. The rest of the money earned is the performer's profit. What is the profit the performer makes at a performance where 8 people attend? Okay, so if we go back up to the question up here, where 8 people attend, they earn $120. Now, there's 2 ways you can solve this. You can take 43% of 120 and then subtract that amount from 120. Or we know that if they get 43% goes to the costs, and that means 57% would be the profit. So I can just multiply 120 times 0.57, and that would get me $68.40. All right, number 6. When 4 times the number x is added to 12, the result is 8. What number results when 2 times x is added to 7? So a lot of times with these, you would set them equal to each other. But in this case, let's just write out that first equation. So 4 times the number x is added to 12, the result is 8. Okay, so 4 times the number x is added to 12, the result is 8. Oh, okay, well I have an equation here. So let's go ahead and solve for x. Minus 12, 4x equals -4. So x would be -1. But then the question is, what number results when 2 times x is added to 7? All right, well, now we know what x is. So 2 times x is added to 7. So this would be negative 2 plus 7, and the answer would be 5. Okay, next question, number 7. Sorry, I had somebody calling me. I had to just shoot them a text. Next question, number 7, says the equation above represents a parabola in the xy plane. Which of the following equivalent forms of the equation displays the x-intercepts of the parabola as constants or coefficients? Okay, so if we take a look at all of these and you're just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like this is crazy, right? So the way that we find the kind of display it as the x-intercepts is going to be like this, right? X like minus a number, x plus a number, or x minus a number, x minus a number, something like that. We need to factor this out. So if I factor this out, I get y equals x minus 2 and x minus 4, and that's the answer, letter D. So that one wasn't too bad. We just had to go ahead and factor it out. Moving on to number 8, we have in a video game, each player starts the game with K points and loses 2 points each time a task is not completed. If a player who gains no additional points and fails to complete 100 tasks has a score of 200 points, what is the value of K? Okay, so for this one, it was a little bit confusing because we have K points and then they lose 2 points each time a task is not completed. And if you had 200 points and you fail to complete 100 tasks, what is the value of K? You could set up an equation for this, but I knew that it had to be a big number here. So what I did was I said, okay, he failed to complete 100 tasks and you lose 2 points each task. So we know that he's down 200 points. But he has right now a score of 200 points. Okay, so I need some number up here that would, if I subtract 200 from it, would give me 200. And there's only one solution. It's D, 400. So I'm sure there's an equation that you could write out here, but you really don't need to. You can just use your logic, where we know that 400 minus 200 equals 200. So sometimes they're a little bit simpler than we make it out to be. Number 9 here, we're going to create a system of inequalities. And it says a worker uses a forklift to move boxes that weigh either 40 pounds or 65 pounds each. Okay, let X be the number of 40-pound boxes and Y be the number of 65-pound boxes. The forklift can carry up to either 45 boxes or a weight of 2,400 pounds. Okay, which of the following is a system of inequalities that represents this relationship? So let's just start with the number of boxes. I know that the number of boxes has to be less than or equal to 45. Okay, 45 boxes. So I'm going to add X, the number of 40-pound boxes, and Y to make our first equation or inequality. If I take a look at all of the choices here, there's only 2, A and B, that have this inequality in them. So even if you needed to guess, you can eliminate C and D. But we also know that if X is a 40-pound box, and now we're trying to figure out weight, we also know that 40 times the number of 40-pound boxes and 65 times the number of 65-pound boxes must be less than or equal to 2,400 pounds. And so A will be your correct answer for this one. Ooh, number 10, I love this one because you actually don't have to do any math at all. It says a function f satisfies f of 2 equals 3 and f of 3 equals 5. A function g satisfies g of 3 equals 2 and g of 5 equals 6. What is the value of f of g of 3? Okay, when you have something like this, f of g of 3, we're going to work from the inside out. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is g of 3. So g of 3, we can see up here, equals 2. So that means that instead of g of 3, I can change this to 2, and now I'm looking for f of 2. And what's the answer right here? F of 2 equals 3. Now this is definitely confusing if you're just trying to start the SAT prep and you haven't done Algebra 2 yet. So that's something that, if you've never seen the f of x and the functions, definitely go ahead and study that because you may not have learned it yet. Okay. All right, we have a big old chart here, and it says Tony is planning to read a novel. Before you even read everything in the chart, read the question. Okay, so read this first. The table above shows information about the novel, Tony's reading speed, and the amount of time he plans to spend reading the novel each day. If Tony reads at the rates given in the table, which of the following is closest to the number of days it would take Tony to read the entire novel? Okay, so we're trying to figure out how many days it's going to take. So I know that there are 349,168 words in the novel. So let's start there. 349,168. So there's words. And I know that he reads 250 words per minute. So let's go ahead and divide that, the words divided by words per minute. And that's going to tell me how many minutes he took. So he took 1,396.65 minutes. Okay, now that we have how many minutes, we can then convert that to hours. Okay, so if I have 1,396.65 minutes, I'm going to divide that by 60, and that's going to give me 23.27 hours. Now, he's not reading for 23 hours straight. If we go ahead and take a look here, he's only planning on reading 3 hours per day. So we're going to take this number and divide by 3 to figure out how many days that we're going to get. And when I do that, I get 7.76 days. Now, 7.76 is obviously not a solution, so it does make sense that it would be 8 days, and that is the correct answer. So a lot of times they give you a lot of extra information that you don't need, and you just got to focus on what the question is asking and what they're giving us to, kind of get to that solution. All right, next problem, another inequality. On January 1st, 2020, there were 175,000 tons of trash in a landfill that had a capacity of 325,000 tons. Each year since then, the amount of trash in the landfill increased by 7,500 tons. If Y represents the time in years after January 1st, 2020, which of the following inequalities describes the set of years where the landfill is at or above capacity? So that means above 325,000. All right, so we started with 175,000 tons, and we're adding 7,500 tons per year. And at or above capacity means greater than or equal to the capacity, which is 325,000 tons. So the correct answer here is letter D. Number 13, a researcher conducted a survey to determine whether people in a certain large town prefer watching sports on television to attending the sporting event. The researcher asked 117 people who visited a local restaurant on a Saturday, and 7 people refused to respond. Which of the following factors make it least likely that a reliable conclusion can be drawn about the sports watching preferences of all the people in town? Well, what do you do at a sports bar or a sports restaurant? You watch the game on TV. So don't you think the people that are there watching the game on TV prefer it to attending in person? So the biggest problem that we have here is where the survey was given. And again, there could be other issues in play, but this is asking which makes it the least likely that a reliable conclusion can be drawn, and that's that factor there. Okay, number 14 is a simple reading the graph problem. So it says, according to the line of best fit in the scatter plot, which of the following best approximates the year in which the number of miles traveled by air passengers in country X was estimated to be 550 billion? All right, so what we're going to do is at 550, I'm going to just go ahead and draw a line across to where it intersects. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw a line down. And as you can see, it's somewhere between 2010 and 2000. So the closest answer here would be C, 2003. It actually goes a little bit also, my line isn't too great. It's a little bit before the 2005 line as well. So that's the correct answer, 2003. All right, number 15. The distance traveled by Earth in one orbit around the sun is 580 million miles. Earth makes one complete orbit around the sun in 1 year. Of the following, what is the closest of the average speed of Earth in miles per hour as it orbits the sun? Okay, so we know that it goes 580 million miles in 1 year. Now, in 1 year, we have 365 days, and we have 24 hours in a day. So by multiplying how many days times the number of hours, it will give us how many hours per year. And when we divide that out, so you can multiply the bottom first and then divide 580 million by that number. We get 66,210. And it says, which is the closest? The answer would be 66,000. All right, number 16 is reading a chart or table. It says the table above summarizes the results of 200 law school graduates who took the bar exam. If one of the surveyed graduates who passed the bar exam, all right, so we're going to be in this section here, pass the bar exam, is chosen at random for an interview, what is the probability that the person chosen did not take the review course? So did not take the review course. All right. So of the people that passed the bar exam, did not take the review course, there's 7 people. Now, what are the options? Is it 7 out of 200? No, because they only asked people who passed the bar exam. So you would add these two numbers together, and that would be 7 out of 25, letter B. Number 17, the atomic weight of an unknown element in the atomic mass units is approximately 20% less than that of calcium. The atomic weight of calcium is 40 AMU. Which of the following best approximates the atomic weight in AMU of the unknown element? Okay, so we have 40. And we know it's 20% less. So you can either multiply this by 0.2 and then subtract that number by 40. But to me, it's easier to just multiply it by 0.8. And it's easy math. It's just 32. Number 18, a survey was taken of values of homes in a country or county, and it was found that the mean home value was 165,000. So the average is the mean, and the average is 165,000, and the median home value was 125. Ooh, so the median 125. Which of the following situations could explain the difference between the mean and median home values in the county? So remember, with the median, we're going to line them all up and figure out what one's in the middle. And it's not accounting for averages or anything like that. And so when we take the average, we're adding them all up and dividing by the number of homes. So what would happen is if you're seeing a really high average but a lower median, there's probably a few, maybe there's a couple homes that are on a lake or something, or maybe like, what if there's one home that's oceanfront? Well, that's going to really skew it if everything else is inland. So the correct answer here is C, that there are few homes that are valued much more than the rest. Okay, page 6, we have another graph here, and I'm going to skip this one just because we basically just went over something really similar, just for the interest of time. We go to 21 here. We have a project manager estimates that a project will take X hours to complete, where X is greater than 100. The goal is for the estimate to be within 10 hours of the time it will actually take to complete the project. So it has to be the actual time plus or minus 10 hours. If the manager meets the goal and it takes Y hours to complete the project, which of the following inequalities represents the relationship between the estimated time and the actual completion time? So remember, Y is the actual time. So they're saying the difference between the actual and the estimate needs to be within 10 hours. So the only one here that has the double inequalities is this one. So we automatically know it has to be that one, because whenever it's between something, you're going to have the double inequality signs. But it also talks about the difference has to be within that range. And so because of that, it has to be letter D. Okay, number 22. We have an equation here, and we have to get it, we have to get the r squared isolated. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. I want to get this whole denominator out of here. So I'm going to multiply both sides by pi r squared. So that is going to give you, I'm sorry, there's a 4 in there too, 4 pi r squared. So that'll give you 4 pi and then I r squared equals, that'll cancel out on this side, right? P. And then to get rid of the 4, the pi, and the I, I'm going to divide both sides by 4 pi I. So that would be r squared equals P over 4 pi I, which is letter B. Number 23, for the same signal emitted by a radio antenna, observer A measures its intensity to be 16 times the intensity measured by observer B. The distance of observer B from a radio antenna is what fraction of the distance of observer B from the radio antenna? Did I say observer B and observer B? Anyways, so we have 16 times the intensity. And in order to figure this problem out, we have the easiest way to do this is knowing that we have the r here, the distance. So most likely there's some sort of relationship here between the two. And we know that we have the radius squared equals P times 4 pi I. You could do this completely out, but we know that it's going to be a ratio. It's going to be an inverse. So it's going to be 1 over r, or the square root of r. We have 16 here, so it's going to be 1 over 4 is going to be the answer. I don't have like a really good way of explaining this. You could plug the numbers in over here, but that's the answer. And we're going to skip 24. Number 25. The graph of a linear function f has intercepts at a0 and 0b in the xy plane. If a plus b equals 0 and a is not equal to b, which of the following is true about the slope of the graph f? Okay, so let's just make this really easy. If a plus b equals 0, then they have to be the same number but opposite. So let's just say that that a is 4 and b is -4, right? Because two numbers that add together to get 0 have to be opposite signs. So if I have that the first line is, let's just do 4, 0 and 0, -4, okay? And I go ahead and just draw it on the graph. I have 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to give me a positive line. So you could stop there, or you can go ahead and double check it again. Let's say now I do A is -4 and B is +4. So that would give me -4, 0 and 0, 4. So -4, 0 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 4. Oh man, I cannot draw lines on this. But either way, it's going to be positive. Number 26 here, it says the complete graph of the function f is shown in the xy plane above. Which of the following are equal to 1? So we have 1 here is the line. And so it's just asking which of these is on the line. That's it. So f of -4, we have 1, 2, 3, -4. Yep, that one's on the line right there. 3/2 or 1.5. Yep, that's on the line right there. And at 3, 1, 2, 3, that one is also. And so the correct answer here is D. This was one that I said I wasn't going to go over, number 27. The correct answer is D. It's just way too much reading to go over in this at this time. Okay, number 28. In the xy plane above, ABCD is a square and point E is the center of the square. The coordinates of point C and E are 7, 2 and 1, 0. Respectively. Which of the following is an equation of the line that passes through points B and D? Well, let's go ahead and make a line on our graph here. And the first thing I can see, you don't even have to solve this, guys. The first thing I can see is this is going to be a negative slope. So see how we need to multiply this out. Let's just go ahead and rewrite this. Y equals -3x plus 3. Okay. So let's take a look here. First of all, these are all negative slopes, so that's good. Now let's just take a look. If I go -1/3, right? I go down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. That's not giving us this line. So C and D are out. And then from there, it's pretty easy because you can just look at the y-intercept. Is the y-intercept -1 or is it +3? And that'll give you your answer. Uh, 29 was one that we were going to skip. And 30, the reason I'm going to skip this is because I don't know how to solve this unless you know what the equation for the area of the hexagon is. And the equation for the area of a hexagon is A equals 3 square root of 3 over 2 times A squared, where A is, the side of a hexagon. So you would solve this because you're given the area, and then you would just find, you'd get the value for little a over here, and then you would solve for the square. But again, that one I've done out. I've done that out with my tutoring students. But it's a bit unfair just because we don't know what the I don't know how you find out what the equation of an area of a hexagon is. It's not on your sheet. Okay, 31. This is a simple ratio problem. The county's beaches are eroding at 1.5 feet per year for 1 year. And according to the estimate, how long will it take in years for the country's beaches to erode by 21? So this is just a simple cross multiply. So 21 equals 1.5 times x, divide, and the answer you will get is 14. For number 32 here, this one is a little bit nasty. You said if h hours and 30 minutes equals 450 minutes, what is the value of h? Well, we have a problem here because h is in hours, and then we have 30 minutes and 450 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide the minutes by 60, so that way we get everything in hours. So it would be h plus 0.5 equals 7.5. And then you would just subtract from both sides and get that h equals 7. All right, for number 36, in the xy plane, the point 36 lies on the graph of the function f of x equals 3x squared minus bx plus 12. What is the value of b? Well, remember, the f of x is the same as saying y, and we have an xy coordinate here, so we're just going to plug in the numbers. So 6 equals, and I'm just plugging in here, 3 times 3 squared minus b times 3 plus 12. So 3 squared is 9 times 3 is 27. 6 equals 27 minus 3b plus 12. I'm going to skip the rest of the steps, combine the numbers, subtract, and you get that b equals 11. I actually like these ones with the no multiple choice, because again, the math tends to be a lot easier. Okay, just like this one, number 34. In one semester, Doug and Laura spent a combined 250 hours in the tutoring lab. Okay, that means we're adding together. If Doug spent 40 more hours in the lab than Laura did, how many hours did Laura spend in the lab? All right, so we have Laura, and then we're going to add them together, right? So Laura, sometimes my pen gets weird. Are we going to stop? Okay. All right, let me start over. All right, so we have Laura plus Doug, and we know Doug is Laura plus 40 is going to give us 250. So I can combine Laura's. So 2L plus 40 equals 250. You guys can solve it from here. Number of hours of Laura is 105. All right, and we just have the last two because we're not doing 37 and 38. I'm going to skip all this reading. I'm going to just go ahead to the question. According to the model, how many dollars was Jane's initial deposit? Look at the equation. Okay, we know that the initial deposit in an equation is always this y-intercept, and the correct answer here is 15. That's it. Simple. 36 also ends up being pretty simple, except you need to know the relationship between the tangent, like when line segments are tangent. This angle here is 60. This angle here is going to be 120. Okay. Now, even if you looked at it, you could probably figure out it is 120 as well. But we have here that the circumference of the circle is 96. What is the length of minor arc LN? So it wants to know how far this is. So if the whole circle is 96, the first thing we have to figure out is what part of the circle this is. So we know that we have 120 degrees out of a total of 360 in a circle. And if we go ahead and simplify that, it's 1/3. So this is 1/3 of the whole circumference. So 1/3 times 96 equals 32. That's the answer. All right, well, thanks so much for stopping by. We will continue to do this. I put one of these longer ones up about once a week. It does take a long time to make them. I have to really sit down and focus for them, which is challenging with my other full-time job, but it's no problem. So yeah, let me know if you have any comments or concerns, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Have a great day.